There we go. All right, welcome DGF community. Due to the current federal and state emergency declarations, the Minnesota directive to residents to stay at home and guidance about limiting person-to-person contact due to the COVID-19 pandemic, this meeting of the Dilworth-Glyndon-Felton School Board is being conducted in accordance with Minnesota Statutes 13D.021, meetings by telephone or other electronic means. Due to the health pandemic, the school board determined that it is not feasible for at least one board member or the superintendent to be physically present at the regular meeting location, and that it is not feasible for the public to attend this meeting at the regular meeting location due to the health pandemic. School board members are reminded to mute their microphone or phone when they are not speaking. School board members wishing to speak should use the little raise your hand or thumbs up button so I can call upon you. I will recognize you and you can speak when recognized. When recognized, the board member should unmute their microphone or phone, speak, and then mute their device. All votes of the school board tonight will be conducted by roll call. Each school board member should wait until their name is called before voting. This meeting is being recorded. Access to the recording will be made available on the school district's website as soon as reasonably possible. Okay, so we have all board members in attendance. Board member Raleigh Gruel, Laura Idem, Amy Johnson, Ronnie Ting, David Eilertson, Sandy Hawk, and myself. And others present tonight are our principals, Wayne Lepard, Heidi Critchley, Margot Hilla, Joe O'Keefe, our superintendent Brian Tygeson, Tracy Tollefson from Community Ed, and Mary Ann Martin from Mary Ann, you're the jack of all things, and I just forgot what you do.
Special ed, that's okay.
Special ed, yes, thank you. You just have those moments. I can't focus today. So anyway, and Eric Exner, our business manager. Anybody else on that I missed? I'm going to make sure we know who's all on here for everybody to know. Okay. All right. Let's move right on to the agenda, 4.1. We do have a couple things we need to adjust. We have 4 additions to our agenda for you board members tonight. Amy, did you get that in the, I had Brooke email you today. Did you get that new one?
Yeah, I think she sent me an updated.
Okay, so we are adding 10.1. We are going to be adding a certified contract. 10.2, the 2020-2021 DGF school calendar. 10.3, school board, where we'll be having a special meeting this Thursday to go over the bid packages. And 10.4, Humans Relation Payroll Benefits Specialist contract. All 4 of those will be added on the end to the agenda. Do I have a motion to adopt the agenda?
So moved.
Motion made by Laura. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Sandy. All right, we'll do a roll call. Raleigh?
Aye.
Laura?
Aye.
Amy?
Aye.
Ronnie?
Aye.
David?
Aye.
Sandy?
Aye.
And myself, aye. Motion carries. There is no public comment tonight. No one submitted anything. Anybody like to share any rebel recognition from administration or school board? Brian, go ahead.
I don't know if this has been brought up yet or not, and I was going to do it in my report, but I think it's a perfect time. Most of you may be aware, but Lakes Country Service Co-op had put out a request of school districts to, if we had people that we thought should be recognized for their efforts, and talked about with the admin cabinet, and Tracy was willing to do the submission, and Jeannie Highness is been recognized. She's on their website for her efforts, and that will be in the latest one from Lakes Country for the whole region. So if there was ever a person with 48 years of experience in a district that in these times, especially doing HR and payroll, that should be recognized, I am thrilled that she is getting both recognition in this service co-op, and also the Northwest Service Co-op is also doing the same recognition. So I think that's pretty cool.
Thanks for sharing. Yes, kudos to Jeannie. That's awesome. Okay, we'll move on to 6.1, Distant Learning Report. Who's got the pleasure of giving that tonight?
Well,
Lindsay, could I add one thing in the Rebel recognition before you go on?
Absolutely, Tracy. I apologize. Yep.
I was just, no, that's okay. I didn't put my hand up. I was just going to say today, the Culture and Climate Committee, on behalf of DGF schools, went around to each site and gave out 42 employees who have, who are retiring or have 5 years or more of experience. So lots of employees who were recognized for 5, 10, up to 40 years worth of experience. So a big kudos to the district for having such phenomenal, dedicated staff.
Awesome. Thank you. Anybody else? Okay, let's move on. Thank you, Tracy, to 6.1, Distance Learning. Brian, who's taking the lead on that?
So we have, our principals have been doing a ton of work with this. So I would turn this over to them because they're the ones that are trying to put some things together, whether it be at the elementary, middle school, and high school level. And what my job has been is to see if I can cut through red tape to make it a little bit easier with them from a district standpoint. So you guys take over.
I can start from the elementary piece. Whoops, there's my dog. I can say we did it. And, getting that the last day on Friday was.
Okay, I'm a dog lover. Let him be on there. He's so cute.
He's looking for Landon, who just left. Okay, so anyway, sorry about that. So, the last day was Friday. It was a hard last day. But there's a lot of stuff that we still have left to do. We're really working on looking at how we're going to do at the elementary level. Joe and I want to, look at how we do Rebel Success. And, if we want to extend that, it's just going to have to do with a lot, with what more heads doing, whether it's a hybrid model. So right now, we made it through distance learning. We're getting everything done. Glyndon-Felton is at a 76% return rate for our computers and stuff right now as we speak. So that's awesome. So everything went well with that. Joe, anything else really for elementary?
No, I think the biggest thing is to make sure that, Margot and I, we have to get a couple plans ready in place to kind of see where summer brings us. And yeah, both of us right now at our sites have people working, doing the final collection here for about another hour. So things are going pretty well. And then that'll give us a couple days to maybe do some cold calls if there's anything else that we need to pick up from some other houses. But so far, so good. And it's just kind of a hurry up and get our ducks in a row and see what happens. So
I can go next for the middle school. I want to give a shout out to our teachers, paras, Mary Ann with the special ed staff, and Miranda. They just have worked so hard during this time, and I really appreciate all that they've done. Tomorrow is our return day. We have kind of a fun, we have something called the PBIS system, which is recognizing, celebrating positive behaviors. And so tomorrow we are trying our best to have a celebration with the kids as they drop off their materials. We drew for prizes like we normally do, and have made posters with their names on it. So when they drive up, they see their names, and just trying to celebrate that during those times. And we continued with Rebel Bucks during distance learning. We had a Google sheet, and then the paras here at childcare cut those up for me and put them in a bin for us to draw. A big piece for us is feedback. Before staff go home for the summer, I want to capture what they've learned from this, what they would do again, what they would do differently. And so I'm in the process of gathering some information from the staff, and so we don't forget, because it's easier once to remember to fix some of those things. So we're doing that. Also trying to figure out summer school, what that's going to look like. I want to thank Brian for advocating for our students for 8 through 12, and I think he'll share some of that in a superintendent's update, but I sure appreciate him advocating for our students. We've learned a lot. We made a lot of mistakes. We did a lot of things right, and we'll just keep moving on and learning from it.
So at the high school, the challenge in the beginning was to think, how can we be rigorous about things, but yet be compassionate and gracious to our kids and what their home lives might be about, whether they have family jobs lost, if this high school student is taking care of the family, if they're working, what their stress levels might be. So we came up with a weekly calendar in the beginning to try to balance that from their home lives and school. And so assignments were once a week sent out and corrected once a week later. And then we had a minimum of 1 Google Meet a week. And we found we knew going in it'd probably be a challenge, because face-to-face is the loss in all of this, being in the building and seeing our staff face-to-face with the kids. And so that's probably one of our biggest challenges, was that. And then balancing each day for students in their home lives, as far as trying to keep things fairly even each day with their workloads from school. We tried to balance that, and following the MDE guidelines, they told us to strongly help ease the pressure on kids and to do whatever we can to try to get kids to pass their courses. And then and if they haven't, then we would give them no credit. And so they would go to summer school or have to retake the class, but they wouldn't fail the class, was the goal. Considerations for the fall, if we're doing this, same type of thing would be to, and I'll go back. When we went into this, we kind of had we had a short amount of time to prepare for it. So we made a kind of an umbrella type of adaptation for the whole school. And so we found that we had struggles as we went into this with kids that need adaptations, so to speak, for their schoolwork. So that's one thing we need to really look at a little closer in the future. Attendance types of things, maybe counseling options, and just tweaking some of our daily schedule, weekly schedule, and grading, and just taking a closer look at those things. Otherwise, I think our staff did a knockout great job working with kids. Even this week, they're reaching out as hard as they can to get kids to get their final things in and be successful with their courses and their grades. We did find out we missed the students. That's our main thing at the school, is our kids. They make the school run and thrive, and that wasn't happening this spring, and we surely missed that. So.
All right, thank you. Anybody have anything to add? Just, I just want to give a shout out to all of you guys for being very committed to trying to make this work. And I think that Heidi's hit it on the head. You find out what went well now, what went bad, because we don't know what fall will bring in, and hopefully we can learn from this. So go ahead, Brian.
I was just going to ask, Wayne, did you want to present anything on that graduation PowerPoint or talk about that now? Because we could do that at the same time before we get into these other reports.
Sure. I'm going to find that present now thing here. Did everybody see that?
Yes.
Okay, so this is a PowerPoint that Katie Ullman, Tracy Tullifson, John Jacobson, and myself have been working on. As far as a publicity type of online brochure for the community, for the seniors, and for the parents. And it's a lot of it's the same types of information we've already put out, but it's all in one piece. and there's a few pieces that aren't out there yet. So this is just kind of highlighting in a paragraph what the senior class has gone through this year, a picture of them. The next page is the guidelines from the Department of Ed for commencement and graduation. People have seen that, but it's all in one place. Things that people need to know for commencement. Those two things have been out there. But what we're doing for the logistics of the ceremony and the parade. Again, some more of that as far as the commencement with what the guidance is there. They can click on that link again to get to the guidance. Caulfield Studios will be here for professional photos, free for each student or graduate and family. There will be a program sent out. It says on here Saturday, so Tracy was going to I think Tracy's on here, but we're going to put that out at the end of the week with the program on here. Weather-related information if we have to postpone like an hour or something, but it doesn't look like the forecast shows that right now. It'll be live streamed through either the radio station or on our, well, long story short, it'll be on through our DGF website, whether it's linking through the flag radio station or through YouTube Live. It'll end up being on our website. We had the virtual awards program go out with honor cords. Kids will pick those up tomorrow when they bring their devices in. And then any other announcements, they can ask for questions if they have any of that. So this is where the program will be posted later in the week for the commencement ceremony. This needs to be updated right here, but that's more about the online link for people to watch live on the commencement or listen to the radio. And then just protocol for the day for the ceremony itself, with the cars going through the ceremony and parking in front when we have them walk across the stage. And then the parade route. And then what the stage area looks like right here. So people kind of have an idea, parents and graduates. There's been a video sent out by Katie Oman to the graduates so they kind of know where they're supposed to line up and position themselves before they, or as they pull up and then they come up the stage and back to their car. And then any questions? So that, I don't know, Tracy, is that, we're thinking probably Thursday this would go out, I believe.
Yeah, we can put this out anytime that you want it out.
I think it go anytime. It's just the part about the brochure, or as far as the ceremony agenda itself, that could be added anytime.
Yep. And I think the only reason we were inside of the program of the graduates is just confirming on Friday the final list of graduates is all.
Right. And we would know that at the end of the day Friday.
Yeah, so we can put it out Friday night whenever you want, Wayne.
Yeah. So Friday night, 4 o'clock.
All right. Well, thank you for all your guys' work on this, and I think it'll be, if the weather holds, we'll have a good time and make it memorable.
Can I ask a question, Linz?
Yeah, go ahead, Laura.
I'm just as far as school board members at the ceremony, is there a specific task that we are doing during the ceremony, or is everyone required to be there? I've never been to a DGF graduation, so I don't know how it works.
Typically, we would actually be handing out the diplomas, but due to this pandemic, if you wanted to be there, you certainly can, but you're not required to, because we actually physically will not be handing anybody any diplomas. So,
okay.
So our role is a lot different than it is.
So Laura, and everybody else, the stage area will have myself at the podium. We'll have 3 senior speakers present their speeches. The podium will be in one back corner of the stage. The opposite, or the back other corner, will have Katie Oman. And then she'll be placing the diplomas on the table. for the graduates when they walk across to pick up and pose for their picture, and then they can step off.
Okay, thank you.
So
All
you
right.
have no room for board members then on the stage? Is
There
that what
would
I'm
be
hearing?
room if anybody wants to.
Pardon me? Go ahead, Wayne.
Raleigh, when we get done with this one tonight, let's have a conversation, because I think it comes back to how we want to do this, as far as especially those of you that are parents as board members. So when we get into operations, we'll have more time to talk, and then we can figure out if that has any changes as far as who may be up there tomorrow, because we have time to add on to that.
Okay.
All right. I think we'll move on to 6.2 board committee reports. Let's start with the oversight meeting. Raleigh, can you give us an update on that? I can help piggyback off it. You heard the first part of the meeting, and I think I got the second half that you left.
Oh, golly, that was the right time, wasn't it? I think I had a fire call. I should have took notes. I can't. It's the same.
There's a lot going on. I don't blame you.
To me, it's kind of all the same. We're moving on. Everything's progressing, and bids are going out, and we're going to vote on it on this Thursday, I believe.
Yeah. I think the biggest takeaway that I had from the meeting is that they're starting to really get in the minutia of what we need to cut. There will be some cuts as far as materials. One of the big discussions was like terrazzo. It would be wonderful to put it everywhere. It lasts for 100 years, but it's very expensive. Do you put it in certain key areas or not? Looking at the Dilworth site of decreasing this height of the gymnasium, because that can save around $30,000. Just starting to really look at the cost and what is needed and what is not. And I think they went over the user group stuff and how those meetings went at the beginning of May, and it sounded like they went very well. And that most, staff were agreeable to what they were looking at. So, Brian, did you want to add anything, or any other administration that was on?
I've got something, Lindsay. The glass that was between the gym and the commons area, taking that out saves a bunch. Just colored panels up there or something instead. Just things like that can all help.
Was that the Dilworth site?
That's at the Dilworth
Raleigh,
site. Yep.
was that the Dilworth site? Okay.
I think there was great discussion about prioritizing the difference between functionality and aesthetics. And when it comes right down to it, to make sure that we are meeting what the initial goals were. I think JLG, I think Lee just does a wonderful job starting out those meetings, bringing us back to those foundation points. Here's what you came forward about. Here's what the core values were about. And that really starts laying out, if you're over budget a little bit, what is it that we want, what's for looks compared to functionality. And I just think there's some great discussion that took place with that. And in the end, I think they did a wonderful job on trying to get us back to where it looks like we'll be within budget. We got the meeting, of course, on Friday, and we were supposed to have at that time an update from Comstock regarding how close we are to that budget. So I'm looking forward to that meeting.
Go ahead, Margot.
I just wanted to say it was really productive in my, in looking at it. We really did look at what would be best for kids and what would affect their learning. So we really went into it as a whole entire oversight committee with the idea and the thought of will this, this aesthetic piece, affect the way that our kiddos will learn? So I really appreciated the whole conversation regarding that piece as well. And I think that was really important going into it.
No, I agree. I thought it was a very productive conversation, and look forward to hearing what they have to say this Friday. So, fiscal personnel had a meeting tonight beforehand. Sandy or David, either one of you want to hop on that one?
Sure. We talked about that there were interviews for Jeannie's position. And so that's coming forward tonight as far as a recommendation for that position. We also just kind of touched lightly on the school calendar and the whole process and how that came forward. And then Brian also had talked at our last personnel meeting where he was, his question was, what can we do for students with an incomplete or no credit? That he was striving for something, and then he got some results today. So I'm going to let him share that during his superintendent report, which was very beneficial. And Heidi kind of alluded to that too. Very beneficial for our 8th through 12th grade students.
Thanks, Sandy. David, did you have anything to add? I think she hit it all on.
I think the only thing is just the transportation contracts, which we've already talked about, but then also the spring sports coaching, and those are on the agenda, so we'll talk about those later.
All right. Thank you. Did anybody else have any board committee meetings?
I did. Community ed, and I know we've got Tracy on here. She'll probably blush at how many things I've forgotten, but right now, I mean, it's obviously it's a tough struggle, particularly for the summer sports. A revised calendar or brochure is actually coming out, or it came out. I can't remember, but it's difficult. It's been very difficult. I mean, I'll give you an example. They were talking about how do you handle baseball. One proposal was that kids pitch the ball, goes to the catcher throws it to the dugout, they sanitize the ball, goes back to the pitcher. So, some not very realistic ways of doing that. There are some things that are getting scheduled later in the summer, some of those activities that would typically be in the building. We don't know how that would actually work, depending on how things progress. Let's see, registrations right now are about 50%. And that's all I've got for that committee. And then I also went to the technology committee. They had feedback on how things went through this whole distance learning period from teachers, and things with regard to, how the devices work, internet packages. And generally it was, things went pretty well. There were some folks that had difficulty, some kids with, subpar internet packages, I suppose. Then there was a discussion having to do with classroom audio and video for the project, for the referendum project, and essentially what are the teachers looking for, and they talked about either, would you like amplification versus upgrades on, I don't even want to call them whiteboards, because I think that's a specific thing, but for touchscreen displays, and they opted for like the touchscreen displays. That's what they were most interested in. Also talked about where to put connections in. And then the last piece, which took up probably the most time, was on the learning management systems. Right now, for much of the senior high and middle school, they're using Schoology. And my daughter always, every time I say Schoolology, I get told that is completely wrong. It's Schoology, Dad. So I've learned something anyway, there's a lot of teachers that are really tied to Schoology. A lot of them have lessons in there. I mean, almost to the point of having, really their entire curriculum in that. So there's some great concerns about, how that would transition out from using Schoology to using like a Google Classrooms. And that was kind of the focus. Schoology is not a huge contract, but I think Jake wanted really to get an idea whether or not it was feasible and get some feedback. And he got a lot of feedback because I think that would really affect a lot of people. So it's something that everyone would have to probably take slow and do a lot of consideration on. So that's what I've got for the technology committee.
All right. Thank you. Anybody else have any board committee reports? Seeing nobody's hand up, it is Brian's turn. 6.3 superintendent report.
Okay, I'll try to keep this under 40 minutes. 5 to 10. Okay. I saw Sandy's look when I said that, and it's like, okay. Few things. The summer school programming. One issue that basically every public school in Minnesota has been struggling with is the difference of finding help for kids, for students. We have ALCs, area learning centers. And what a lot of the public may not know is area learning center programming is different, looks different at the grade 1 through 7th grade. Exiting 8th graders and high school students are under one set of programming options through an area learning center compared to elementary students and middle school students. At the lower levels, we call it targeted services. And it, again, all runs under the same umbrella of an ALC, which allows you to work within programming and tap into the revenue sources to help provide the summer programming. At the elementary level, it is with the idea of making sure that students are ready to progress to the next grade. At the grade 8 through into the high school, it's about credit recovery. And so as we do the programming as administrators, you have to separate what is the normal ALC type of programming for kids that have failed courses compared to what is the programming need, what are the programming needs for students based on the pandemic, based on distance learning and the fact that they may need extended time, they may need more time because of maturity and a lot of other things going on. So that's been a dilemma, and it's been a struggle to work through and make sure that we're meeting statutory requirements and so on and so forth. So we've had a lot of discussions internally. Many other schools, most other schools, school districts are having those same questions. The good news is I think we have a solution that is going to meet the needs for DGF, and part of that has been based on communication with the Department of Ed and also with our friends at the west, to the west of us. I think Moorhead, MAPS School District, and DGF work so well together. For a number of years, we've been providing targeted services to our elementary students and middle school students that need that jump start. We call Rebel Success some of that programming to make sure the kids are ready for the next year. So we've been a targeted service through the area learning center of Moorhead for the whole time I've been at DGF. We're now working to expand it so that we can be a site at the high school level so that our students, instead of only having our high school students go to the Moorhead district to actually attend summer school programming, we would provide it on site. And so this credit recovery, students that maybe are going to be getting an NC, no credit, because they've got some makeup work to do. And right now, of course, we lose our staff for the summer. This will provide us a means to be able to put staff in place to help the students to make sure that they can finish those courses over the summer and be ready for the fall. So we're working through plans at the middle school and high school. You know, Wayne, Heidi, Marianne, myself, and then working in tandem with Moorhead School District. We have a meeting tomorrow regarding it administratively to continue working on those plans. The principals are recruiting staff members that may want to get a little extra pay during the summer to be involved with this. And then starting next week, we'll start looking at setting up the programming at that level. Margot and Joe are working in tandem to get the Rebel Success ready and that summer school programming. And it would be our hope that within the next week or so, we've got all that information to share with the public. Here's the dates that it's going to be. Here's how your sons or daughters will make up the credits, and so on and so forth. A lot of work going on with it, but we were able to get a few things checked off the list to make sure that the red tape, we process through that. So to me, that's really exciting because I think it's really gonna meet some of those needs that we were all struggling with. How do you deal with the fact of having a lot of kids that may be behind on some of their work going into next year? So good plans coming, I think, with that. And I just want to make sure that the board and the public is aware of it. Second item, and I'm going to share my screen in a second, and this goes hand in hand with summer programming in general and use of our facilities. As board members, you're aware, and I reached out to our legal counsel, Kevin Rupp, and our law firm to get some guidance on our potential of liability as a district if people are using our facilities. And I will be sharing this with the board members. The admin team, we've already walked through this, but I want to make sure that at least people get a chance to see it tonight, and then we can show it to the public about the possibility of some of our parameters that we have to work within. So let me bring this up. So hopefully what you're seeing is a letter from Kevin Rupp. All right. And I'm not going to read through the whole thing, but basically what I asked for was their firm's legal interpretation of the potential of us having liability as a school district. Can we do a lease agreement that would take us off the hook for any liability, whether it be with a baseball group, a softball group, whatever, for use of the fields? And in the discussion, and David is the one that I know can chime in on this at any point from a legal standpoint, but what it really came down to is we had a great discussion about the fact that as a landowner, you cannot release yourself from that potential liability. So what you're going to be seeing here, and I've highlighted just a few things about the differences between the executive orders. We know that the stay safe or the stay at home part ended, but again, we're still under the new Stay Safe Minnesota, which talks about the order's prohibition of gatherings of more than 10 people. Any sort of sporting event such as baseball or softball is not allowed. So this is coming right from our legal counsel. There's more of it the same that is in guidelines provided by the state, the DNR, Department of Health. Notice any of those. So if you hear from people, well, the DNR one or the Department of Health one does not say we can't do this. Notice they put in bold, these guidelines do not address organized youth or adult athletics, which are not authorized to resume by the Executive Order 2056. So these are the things that we have to work within. And here is the guidance. There's Park and Rec, the same thing. Based on the current guidelines, we do not recommend allowing local organized athletic teams to use district facilities. If the district knowingly allowed local sport teams to use its facilities in violation of the executive order, and applicable health guidance, we believe the district could potentially be exposing itself to liability. And they bring up the example of a VFW team, and all of a sudden, if somebody does get ill, you will still have that potential liability as the owner of the property. Now, this is under the existing executive order, which has not been lifted, of the gathering of 10 or more. So based on that, and again, you'll have to read through this, the rest of it, and we can talk about it later. It's only 2 pages worth, and he talks about it. That may change very quickly. Also, we may see changes with the executive order. But at this time, if we're approached by other groups that want to lease our property, they want to do, and they're going to play games on it, it does not meet the guidelines of executive order. And we would still have liability as a school district. And knowing that, I do not believe it would be in our interest. I would not recommend that the board says, to heck with it, we're going to do it anyway, because that's just setting ourselves up. When you knowingly do that, and David, please tell me if I'm missing that one at all, but to me, once we've heard this from legal counsel, it defines it even that much more that we would have liability if we went ahead and did it. Am I wrong on that?
No, I was just going to say that. I mean, I think, there's no, hey, we didn't know about this. We know about this. I mean, I think you'd have a tough argument anyway. And it's not like it's a situation where you could have somebody indemnify you. Most of these groups, have about $1,000 to their name in some bank account. And if you're talking about a $1 million lawsuit or something like that, yeah, we don't need to be involved in that.
So it's not what some people are going to want to hear. But again, I think as a school district, we have to look at this is a public funds, and can we take that potential liability? Can we have that liability and take that chance that taxpayers are going to have to be paying for this because of the decisions that we make when we know legally what advice you're given? We don't have to like it, and we wish we could, but, and I have had conversations with some of the people from at least one of the baseball groups, and actually the individual I talked to said, you know what, I like this much more. It's cleaner, and we don't have to worry about it, and we can go through whether we go into North Dakota or whatever, and we're not going to have that liability issue. So FYI on that one. Next item, school calendar, again, revisions. When we get to that item, I'm going to simply ask the principals, or Marianne, Heidi, Margot, we're all on the calendar committee, and all I can say is, whether it's been culture, climate, whether it's been a calendar committee, it is so nice. I have been involved about 2% of the time with it, because these guys have taken over leadership completely on this stuff. And once you approved as a school board the student contact days, really all that we had left to do was those non-instructional, because we had so many more options based on, are we starting school late? Are we starting school early? Are we going to end it early and late? So that created more non-instructional days for the staff. So based on that, I asked the admin cabinet to, let's take this back to the calendar committee, talk about it with your groups, let's get feedback, and they will let you know that when we get to that item. Okay. Next one, admin assignments. I think there was some great feedback. It was interesting. We heard from some of the people, staff members, what else not, in the open forum part last time. That night, I said that administratively, we've been talking about the same thing as an admin cabinet, because initially when we've been putting this plan together about the admin assignments for next year, it was all to phase in being ready for fall of 21. Well, then a thing happened along the way called a pandemic. And so now it's changed the prioritization about the importance of having those relationships with those kids, knowing that we have a lot of students and staff that are wondering what it's going to look like in the fall. And to have that continuity of leadership is going to be important. We still want to be able to put some type of a transition plan together that may happen partway through the year, where we start transitioning some of those people. But at this time, the plan with all of the lead principals is to stay exactly where they're at, so that they can work on this summer planning with their staff members. Wayne will be at the high school, Heidi at the middle school, Margot and Joel will be at the 2 elementary sites. And we'll just transition from that point. Again, we don't know what the fall is going to bring to us. Are we going to be starting virtual? Are we going to be completely on a distance? Is it going to be a hybrid? More to come, because we keep getting updates on that. Last thing, again, these are action items. We've discussed these through fiscal personnel and over the course of at least a month and greater. And they're, like I said, they're action items regarding the spring activities. And this is not only about spring advisors and coaches pay, but it's also our transportation vendors, because there's multiple entities that have lost income because of that. The one difference that I think is very important for everybody in the public to understand and know is that these are fee-based positions. And DGF School District did not cancel the spring season. The high school league canceled the spring season. If the high school league cancels the spring season, we can't have it because we lose our liability. All of those things for the meets, for everything else, are covered under their policies. So the season's canceled. And with that in mind, different schools are taking different approaches with it. We've had discussions about it. I know we had a couple of different options with the transportation vendors, and there's a recommendation on that option 2, which is a very fair look at it, because it doesn't look at how long these different routes were for the trips, but it's just averages of over the past 3 years, each vendor, how many trips have they averaged, and coming up with an average compensation for that, completely prorated. As far as the coaches, you look at, and the advisors, Moorhead and Hawley, both to the west and east of us, they've made a decision to go with paying 100%. Barnesville is taking those existing compensations that were set up, and they're going to give 50% to their head coaches. I believe their board took action on that last week. 50% to their head coaches, 25% to their assistant coaches. Our recommendation we've had the discussions admin cabinet wise, and also as you'll hear from the committee members, discussions about, this is about fairness, and it's about fairness also from a public standpoint. We have been very fortunate to have a public that just got done supporting a bond referendum. There's people losing their jobs. There's people prorated incomes. And the idea that we would go ahead with 100% pay on something that's fee-based, I could never recommend. And go look at people in these communities that was fair. So the recommendation and admin-wise, cabinet, we're fully supportive and recommending to the committee and to the school board that the extracurricular for the coaches, advisors for the spring sports would be at 50%. So there, not 40 minutes, probably 10, I'm guessing. That's it, unless you have questions for me.
Thank you, Brian. Anybody have any questions? I don't see any hands raised. So when we get to those action items, we'll have a little further discussion on that. So let's go ahead and move on to the approval of the regular meeting on May 11th. Do I have a motion to approve? Oh, sorry, Raleigh's raising his hand. Sorry, Raleigh, go ahead.
One thing for Brian, I'm assuming then that if our fearless leader, the governor, decides on June 1 that things can start bleeding, how long would it take to get a reading from our attorney whether or not to turn the softball, baseball, community ed, soccer, t-ball loose?
So part of the issue, and Tracy can chime in on this also with when we talk about summer rec and some of this other programming. From all the discussions I've had with superintendents regionally, basically everybody, because the orders have already been put in place for June, that was so that it would help school districts with their community ed, all that type of programming. That's why people are shutting down through June with community ed. So when you think of the fact that a lot of those things, T-ball and what else not, that's through our community ed. Yeah. And so there isn't going to be other teams to play if everybody's shutting down community ed. So Raleigh, to be honest, if something was going to start back up, it would basically be for July that we'd be looking at it. I don't see the governor making changes to that when they've already set it up so that the community eds are closing down. You look at Perham, you look at a lot of these other places, they're shutting down their community ed. I know that the ones that are providing, Moorhead, Joe would be the first one to be able to tell what kind of parameters Moorhead's setting up for some of the camps. I mean, they're basically going to be 10 kids in there. They're doing individual things because, of course, they can't be passing balls back to each other and things like that. So while we're in this executive order, it's going to have pretty limited access, Raleigh.
Okay, I was just curious to see how fast, because it seems like once things got, even the CDC said surfaces are not really a concern anymore. It's the breathing, it's the coughing, it's the whatever. I guess we'll have to see. North Dakota's up and running. Our DGF softball is up and running. They're playing over in North Dakota already. So just the baseball never became part of the North Dakota group. They have always stayed Minnesota. So, all right, just curious.
All right. Anybody else have any questions? All right. Seeing no questions, we're going to move on to 7.1, approval of the meeting minutes on May 11th. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Oh, go ahead. David.
Who was that?
David.
David? Sorry, I can't see everybody. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Amy. All right. We'll do a roll call vote here. Sandy?
Aye. Sorry.
That's okay. David?
Aye.
Ronnie?
Aye.
Amy?
Aye.
Laura?
Aye.
Raleigh?
Aye.
And myself, aye. Motion carries. All right. This is the 8 is the consent agenda. What are claims and accounts, Raleigh?
$394,566.59.
All right. We also have in your packet was the treasury report and fund total report, the Minnesota liquid asset and max account, activity account report. We have 2 resignations. The resignation of Kristen Wang, special education teacher, effective the end of this school year, and the resignation of Jessica Gaylord, our Spanish teacher, effective the end of this school year. Do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
So moved by David. Do we have a second?
Second.
I think I heard Raleigh first. I'll take Raleigh. All right. All right. We'll go for a roll call vote. Sandy.
Yes.
David.
Aye.
Ronnie.
Aye.
Amy.
Aye.
Laura.
Aye.
Raleigh?
Aye.
And myself, aye. Motion carries. Okay, we are moving on to 9.1. This is for our insurance company, Liberty Mutual Insurance and Employers Insurance as providers for the fiscal year 21. These are our current providers, correct, Brian?
Yep.
Yep.
Yep, okay. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Amy. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Raleigh. Any discussion? Hearing no discussion, we'll go to a roll call vote here. Amy?
Aye.
Ronnie?
Aye.
David?
Aye.
Sandy?
Aye.
Raleigh?
Aye.
And Laura?
Aye.
And myself, aye. Motion carries. All right, next is 9.2 milk bids. Chelsea did send out a recommendation. I'll just read her recommendation. She sent out prices for Land O'Lakes and Cass Clay. She said, it is my recommendation to stay with Cass Clay for the 2020-21 school year. Their prices are lower than Land O'Lakes, and we had a positive overall experience with them this past year. Do we have a motion to approve the milk bid?
So moved.
Motion made by Ronnie. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Raleigh. We'll do a roll call here. Raleigh,
Aye.
Laura,
Aye.
Amy,
Aye.
Ronnie,
Aye.
David,
Aye.
Sandy,
Aye.
myself, and I. Motion carries. 9.3 bread bids. Chelsea sent out the same kind of bid. She had the products from Panel Gold or is it Bimbo? Raleigh, I always say it wrong. Bimbo or Bimbo?
Beanbo.
Bimbo. Okay. Chelsea said, it is my recommendation to stay with the Panel Gold company for the 2020-21 school year. Majority of their products are less expensive, and we had a great overall experience with the company this past year. So do we have a motion to approve Panel Gold?
So moved.
Was that Laura or Sandy?
Sandy.
Sandy. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Laura. Roll call vote. Sandy?
Aye.
David?
Aye.
Ronnie?
Aye.
Amy?
Aye.
Laura?
Aye.
Raleigh?
Aye.
And myself, aye. Motion carries. All right. 9.4 is meal prices. Elementary breakfast would be $1.40. Elementary lunch would be $2.80. This is an increase of 10 cents from this last year. Secondary breakfast would be $1.50. Secondary lunch would be $2.90. This is a 10-cent increase from this year. Adult breakfast would go from to $2.75, and adult lunch is $4. That's up 5 cents from this last year. And extra entree breakfast $1.50, and extra entree lunch $1.75. This is a 5 cent for the extra breakfast and a 10-cent increase for lunch. And free and reduced breakfast is free, and free and reduced lunch is free. These are
Hey, Linz.
yeah.
Adult breakfast, it says $2.75, and it says last year's or this current year is $2.80. I think it needs to be flip-flopped on the. It went up a nickel, so it should be $2.80 for next year.
Thank you, Sandy. We'll have Amy change that. Thank you for pointing that out. So this is the federal guidelines. This is not set by us. This is set by the federal government. Any other discussion? Do we have a motion to approve the meal prices?
So moved.
Moved by Raleigh. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Amy. All right, roll call vote. Raleigh?
Aye.
Laura?
Aye.
Amy?
Aye.
Ronnie?
Aye.
David?
Aye.
Sandy?
Aye.
Myself is an aye. Motion carries 7-0. 9.5 is the ESY contracts. We've got several here. I'll go ahead and read them. This is for the summer of 2020. We have a Matt Retzler, Part B teacher, $35 an hour up to 36 hours. Rachel Gilbert, Part B teacher, $35 an hour up to 32 hours. Rebecca Donahue, Part B teacher, $35 an hour up to 21 hours. Kristen Peters, Part B OT, $40 an hour up to 1 hour. Amy Renowski, Part B D/HH, $40 an hour up to 2 hours. Jessica Bruns, Part B ASL interpreter, $29 an hour up to 16 hours. Heidi Hunter, Part B speech, $35 an hour up to 48 hours. Rebecca Donahue, Part C teacher, $35 an hour up to 30 hours. Heidi Hunter, Part C speech, $35 an hour up to 15 hours. And Carrie Krebs, Part C evaluations, $35 an hour up to 15 hours. Do we have a motion to approve the ESY contracts?
So moved.
Motion made by Sandy. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by David. Any discussion? Any questions? All right, we'll do a roll call vote. Raleigh?
Aye.
Laura?
Aye.
Amy?
Aye.
Ronnie?
Aye.
David?
Aye.
Sandy?
Aye.
And myself, aye. Motion carries. Okay, 9.6. This is a non-renewal of probationary paraprofessionals. I'm going to ask for a motion, and then Marianne is going to go ahead and I think she's going to elaborate on this. So do I have a motion for non-renewal?
Sorry, so moved.
Oh, all right. Motion by Amy. Is there a second?
Second.
I think Laura got you. All right, Marianne, can you elaborate on this for us, please?
Yep, the two probationary paraprofessionals are both at the high school, Jared Hellerud and Doug Methune, and just during the first 9 months, it's probationary, and we're just looking at going in a different direction.
Okay, thank you. Anybody have any questions for Marianne? All right, we have a motion and a second. We'll go into a roll call vote. Sandy?
Aye.
David?
Aye.
Ronnie?
Aye.
Amy?
Aye.
Laura?
Aye.
Raleigh?
Aye.
Myself, aye. Motion carries. 9.7, this is LCSC, Tech Integration Contract. I believe Brian sent out information to us all regarding that. Do we have a motion to approve this contract?
So moved.
David, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Amy. Is there any discussion or questions for Brian regarding this? All right. Hearing no discussion, we'll do a roll call vote. Sandy?
Aye.
David?
Aye.
Ronnie?
Aye.
Amy?
Aye.
Laura?
Aye.
Raleigh?
Aye.
And myself, aye. Motion carries 7-0. 9.8, this is a certified contract for Angela Cordell. She is a special education teacher, BA plus 20, step 7. Do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Motion by David. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Raleigh. I got Raleigh first there.
That's good.
Any discussion or questions for Marianne on this one?
I like that we have some experience. That's nice to see coming in.
Yes, she has experience in general education.
Oh, okay.
She's going back to school to get her special ed. So
okay.
Oh,
thank you.
Well, that'll be good. I mean, it's just nice to see that we had an application. So thank you, Marianne. I know this is you're always busy trying to find people. So
yep.
So kudos to you today.
Thanks. We'll still have two We still have 2 openings for special education and then an opening for a speech language pathologist.
Okay. Well, we look forward to seeing more names on the agenda. So thank you. All right, let's do a roll call. We have a motion by David and a second by Raleigh. Sandy?
Aye.
David?
Aye.
Ronnie?
Aye.
Amy?
Aye.
Laura?
Aye.
Raleigh?
Aye.
Myself, aye. Motion carries 7-0. 9.9, this is a certified contract for Raven Chambly, elementary teacher, BA Step 1, effective the start of the 2020-2021 school year. Do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Motion by Amy. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Sandy. Do we know any of the elementary principals still on the call? Which class, which grade level this teacher will be in?
Raven will be in 4th grade.
4th grade? Okay.
Yep.
Great. And I'm assuming at your site, Joe?
Yep, at the Dilworth site.
Okay, thank you. Any other further questions for Joe? All right, hearing no discussion or questions, let's do a roll call. Sandy?
Aye.
David?
Aye.
Ronnie?
Aye.
Amy?
Aye.
Laura?
Aye.
Raleigh?
Aye.
Myself, aye. Motion carries. 9.10. This is a certified contract for Cheryl Bray, elementary teacher, BA Step 3, effective the start of the school year. Do we have a motion to approve?
So move.
Is that Laura?
Yep.
Okay. Motion by Laura. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Raleigh. Where will this elementary teacher be? In Glendon or Dilworth?
Cheryl will be kindergarten teacher at the Dilworth site.
Okay. Thank you. Any questions for Joe or discussion? All right, let's do a roll call here. Sandy?
Grace?
Oh, there you are, Sandy.
I shouldn't have.
Is that an aye, Sandy? Oh,
There I coming back.
there you are. Is that an aye?
It is an aye. Sorry. Thanks.
David?
Aye.
Ronnie?
Aye.
Amy?
Aye.
Laura?
Aye.
Raleigh?
Aye.
And myself, aye. Motion carries. All right, 9.11. This is a spring extracurricular transportation compensation. Do we have a motion to approve the prorated compensation rates for the spring extracurricular vendor transportation services?
I make a motion at the 50%.
Okay, Sandy makes a motion at 50%. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Raleigh. We'll just fill in a little bit. Oh, Brian raised his hand. We're going to let Brian, we're going to have a little discussion here before we do our vote. Go ahead, Brian.
So just to be clear, this is the proration option 2, correct?
Correct.
Okay. I just want to make sure we get that in there.
Yep. Sorry. Yes. Option 2.
Prorate. So Amy, if you can record it as such.
Yep.
All right. Are you good, Amy? I just don't want to move on.
I'm good. I'll note it.
Okay. Okay.
Thank you for clarifying that, Brian.
Yes, thank you. So this is something that fiscal personnel, we talked about in great length, and we feel like this is a fair compensation for our transportation vendors. And as far as I know, Eileen had visited with them and they were satisfied with it as well. Correct, Brian? Yep, he's shaking his head. Yep.
Correct.
Okay. So any other questions or discussion? I don't see anybody raising their hand. So let's go ahead and do a roll call vote here. Sandy?
Aye.
David?
Aye.
Ronnie?
Aye.
Amy?
Aye.
Laura?
Aye.
Raleigh?
Aye.
And myself, aye. Motion carries. Next one is 9.12, spring extracurricular coaches compensation. Do we have a motion for prorated compensation rates for the spring extracurricular coaches compensation?
So moved.
All right, Raleigh's got the motion. Is there a second?
I'll second that at the 50%
Okay.
of their regular fees.
Okay, we got a second by Sandy. This is, Brian touched on this as well in his superintendent report. This is something that we discussed at length in fiscal personnel and felt that 50% on the prorated rate since the Minnesota High School League canceled the season was a fair wage to give them. Go ahead, Ronnie, with your question.
I'm just assuming Brian said some of the schools were doing assistant coaches at 25%, but we're doing 50% on all of them, correct?
There's only one school district that I know around in our area that did the 50-25 for sure, and that's Barnesville. There's other ones that are looking at some of the proration also. We haven't seen the final verdict on that as far as what board action's been taken.
I just want to be clarified that it's 50% across the board. So,
yep, and that's what we had discussed as fiscal personnel, that we were comfortable with the 50% for all spring coaches. David or Sandy, anything to add to that?
I would just add that, based on the idea that right now we're asking taxpayers basically to pay for this. And so when we think about a lot of folks, 40 million people across the country are out of work. We've got a situation. We know that coaches put in time. One of the things we consider is that coaches do put in time outside of the season. And so it's important to recognize that. So that's part of that. But we felt it was fair under the circumstances. And so that's kind of why we came to the decision we came to.
Yep, nicely said.
Yeah, nicely said. Thank you, David. Any further discussion? All right, let's go ahead and do a roll call. Sandy?
Yes.
David?
Aye.
Ronnie?
aye.
Amy?
Aye.
Laura?
Aye.
Raleigh?
Aye.
And myself, aye. Motion carries 7-0. All right, now these are the additional action items that we added at the beginning of the meeting. The first one is 10.1, and this is a certified contract for Carrie Kinslow, High School Art, BA Step 1, effective the start of the 2020-2021 school year. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Amy. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Laura. Any discussion or questions for Wayne, as this will be in the high school? All right, so let's go ahead and do a roll call vote. Sandy?
Aye.
David?
Aye.
Ronnie?
Aye.
Amy?
Aye.
Laura?
Aye.
And Raleigh?
Aye.
And myself, aye. Motion carries 7-0. All right, 10.2 is the 2020-2021 DGF school calendar. Brian talked about it in a superintendent report. This calendar has went through the calendar committee, and the recommendations are moving forward made by them. So this is including, we have 3 administrators that are on this. We've got Heidi, Margot, and Marianne, and then staff members as well. Do we have a motion to approve the 2020-2021 school calendar?
So moved.
Sandy, I heard Sandy first. We got a motion and a second. Second. And any questions or discussion points?
So, Lindsay, we're voting, even though we're not quite sure on what the dates are, whether the starting date as well as the end date.
Brian, do you want to go ahead and share the calendar? Yes. So you can answer those questions. That's a great question, Laura. And we just really want to point out when he's going over this, he's going to share it. There's a room for a lot of staff development, which, as everybody on the board knows, at their last meet and confer, they were saying they wanted more staff development. So this addresses that issue, which I'm pleased that they worked on this. So go ahead, Brian. It's all yours.
So Thumbs up, you can see the calendar?
Mm-hmm.
All right, so what you saw at the last board meeting was simply having the non-instructional days. So again, this is not changing anything about the starting date for students. That is exactly the same as what we've already put in place. What this is doing is initially in May, we had all of the non-instructional days to be able to get to 180 teacher contract days. Those were all put on the back end in May after the fact. And the discussion that took place as an admin cabinet, as leadership, as the discussions with site leadership teams, and then bring it right to the calendar committee again, the fact that instead of just stating that the best route is only in May at the end, we may have sites that say, you know what, we want to break those days up because of some of the training we need to do. So what we've done is gone back to the calendar committee and said, look, there's 5 days basically that you have to look at doing. And does this help you if we give you the options of either doing it at the front end or the back end based on what your needs are? This won't change anything for the kids. But for instance, the elementaries, our elementaries have a brand new math curriculum where we've invested $200 and some thousand over the course of 3 years. We will be for that curriculum. Well, we know they want professional development associated with that. So this is giving them the opportunity to front load some professional development on that math curriculum. So this way, the staffs, based on the leadership, the building administrators must approve what the days are going to be. But you setting up this calendar with us having the options of going from August 13th through May 25th gives us much better parameters to be able to work with the professional needs of the sites. For instance, we know that Glyndon-Felton Elementary, DGF Middle School, that staff, they will all be moving rooms at the end of this year. They probably are going to want some time in May. But Glyndon-Felton Elementary may also want some time in August, and it gives them time and leadership, their leadership teams, to say, here's the 5 days we're going to do. And here's the 5 days that the high school is going to do. Here's the 5 days. And then the principals are responsible for tracking all those days for their people. We've already set up a spreadsheet. And when I say we, I say that a lot of times when it's Brooke who's done it for me. But basically, she put the spreadsheet together. We'll put all the certified staff into different tabs, middle school, high school, 2 elementaries, and then it'll be up to the site administrators to be putting down, here's what everybody's going to be doing for those 5 days based on the goals that they have for their sites. So this gives them much more options for professional development. So that's the whole intent of this. And if you don't set as a board this parameter, we can't do it after the fact because we have to have, here's what it could run from until this. But they all won't have to be there for that whole August 13th through May 25th. Because if they're doing more on the front end, they're going to get out earlier. If they're doing more on the back end, they can start later. But again, it should come down to the site goals of what we need to make sure we're ready for both this fall and as we're exiting the year. So that's the whole goal behind it. And again, Heidi, Marianne, Margot, anything you guys can add as far as about the discussions and coming from the calendar committee, any feedback would be great.
Go ahead, Marianne.
Okay, Brian, if you bring what you shared, if you can see August again, because I can't see August on my screen. I think the 13th and 14th weren't supposed to be purple because we only have 7 extra days, and only 5 days are flexible days because 2 of them are set at the end of the school year. You're on mute, Brian.
So this one hasn't been updated then. 13th and the 14th should not be highlighted,
No.
correct?
Correct.
Okay. We're going to do that right now. That's how easy it will be.
Okay.
How's that?
Yep, that looks good because the 17th through the 21st could be the 5 flexible days, or we can put them at the other end of it as well because we're done on the 14th. But the first 2 days after the 14th are mandatory days for grading and packing up if that's what they need to do.
Go ahead, Margot.
No, just speaking from the elementary point of view, we did bring this to, Joe and I brought this both to our site leadership teams, and we had one combined site leadership team meeting to discuss this. And it was said, that they're excited about the opportunity, and it'll help with that professional development piece for math. And that was looked on highly. We can spread this out a little bit more. Teachers are needing more. We're available. We have availability for more. So I think that this is going to be a very optimal thing, especially for this summer. And then with the distance learning part, we don't know. It could come at us, at a drop of a hat that we're doing distance learning in the fall. This will also give us the flexibility of utilizing days if we need to plan some distance learning.
Thanks, Margot. Go ahead, David.
Just a quick question. What is the first day of school? If you could just scroll back up. I assume it's the 27th. Is that right?
Yep.
Okay. Just making sure I understood that. Thanks.
Okay. Any further discussion? All right. No one's hands are up, so let's go ahead and we'll do a roll call vote here. Sandy?
Aye.
David?
Aye.
Ronnie?
Aye.
Amy?
Aye.
Raleigh?
Aye.
Laura?
Aye.
And myself, aye. Motion carries. Okay, 10.3. This is a motion to have a special school board meeting this Thursday night, May 28th at 6 p.m. This is to discuss the bids. This should be very short. Should be a pretty short meeting. Comstock will present what the bids were at, and we have one action item. So do I have a motion to approve adding the special meeting?
So moved.
Oh, I got Laura first. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Raleigh. Just for all board members, Sandy won't be able to be there. Is everybody else going to be able to attend? So I know we have a quorum. You can just give me a thumbs up or yes. Okay.
By phone, okay, and what time?
6 p.m. I believe, yes, you can call in. I believe. Brian? Is he able to call in?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep. Okay. All right. Let's go ahead and do a roll call vote here. Sandy? Oh.
Aye.
Oh, there she is. David?
Aye.
Amy?
Aye.
Ronnie?
Aye.
Laura?
Aye.
Raleigh?
Aye.
And myself, aye. Motion carries. 10.4, last one, everyone. Human Relations Payroll Benefits Specialist Contract. This is to replace Jeannie's position. This is for Tiara Christian, starting at $28.85 an hour, effective June 15th. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Motion by David. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Sandy. Any discussion or questions from board members? Go ahead, Ronnie.
I'm assuming then this means Brooke is staying where she is?
Correct. Correct. So just to, update everybody else, there was, I believe, 7 candidates that had applied for this position. Eric, Brooke, and Jeannie were involved besides myself as far as with the interviews. These were all virtual. I'm going to actually add all of you to you're going to get a meeting invite for a meeting that already took place with these interviews, because if I don't do that, I can't give you access to the actual videos, because we've video recorded each of the 3 interviews. And so as we found out, as I've been having discussions with committee members, they had to be able to get access that way. So that's one of the things with these recorded ones. And otherwise I got to work with Jake on it. One way or another, I'll get it to all of you. But we interviewed 3 people. What I had asked of, we got done. We were very comfortable with that. We had some good candidates. In the end, what I wanted to hear from Brooke and Eric is that they had consensus, because my thought is that these are the 2 that are going to be working together with this new person. And it is when you're in that small of a setting and of the things that you're working on together, it's critical that they feel very comfortable with each other, and the skill set meshes well. So we were very happy that I was very happy that there was consensus with it. This 2885 equates to just over 60,000. And after looking at some of the regional, and to put in perspective, Jeannie would have been on track for about 65 to 66 at this point. And I think it would be, that you're talking about somebody who's been there for 48 years. So I think it would be extremely disrespectful if we had somebody coming in making more. And again, Tiara was very happy with it. It was right in the ballpark that she was looking at. So I feel very comfortable recommending Tiara. I think she'll be a good fit. The plan is the June 15th, because then that will give a couple of weeks with Tiara to be able to work with Jeannie, most likely. And as I talked with the committee, there will be a recommendation in June as we get further into transition conversations, bringing back to the board. And I know that Jeannie has been very receptive to the idea that she would be willing to come back over the coming months as we have some of those very key moments, with payroll and the audit and everything else. So I will be most likely recommending in June that we come back for some contracted time for Jeannie at her present rate to just help with the transition over the coming months. But recommendation is to move that one forward. Feel very comfortable with the rate. And Tiara's already, if the board accepts it, she is ready to start work on the 15th.
Brian, one more thing about Tiara. You had mentioned that she is going to be getting her bachelor's degree finishing in November, correct?
Thank you. Yes, she is actually working on her HR to actually have a bachelor's in it. So that is, she has payroll background, and we know that we've got Region 1. Whoever was coming in, these are big shoes to fill. And I don't know how many times we said that with all 3 of the candidates. You've got somebody who's basically, there's a reason why her license plate says Rebels. I mean, she lives and breathes it and sleeps it. So, and Jeannie wants to do whatever to help make sure that it's a smooth transition.
All right. So we have a motion and a second. Do we have any other questions or further discussion? All right, let's go ahead and we'll do a roll call vote here. Sandy.
Aye.
David.
Aye.
Ronnie.
Aye.
Amy.
Aye.
Laura.
Aye.
Raleigh.
Aye.
And myself, aye. Motion carries. All right. Future board meetings we'll have this Thursday, May 28th at 6 p.m. That'll be virtual. And Raleigh, there should be on the meeting invite a phone number to call in with the
I saw
password.
that. Okay. And I may be able to make it. It's going to be nip and tuck.
Okay. And go ahead, Amy. You had a question, hon?
Yeah. When is the next oversight committee meeting? Do we have a? Is that Friday?
That's Friday.
This Friday. Okay, just checking.
Yep. And that will be 1:30 to 3:30. Just to note, anybody that's available to go on to the oversight, Brian did send out an updated meeting invite because the one we were currently using had expired after the last meeting. So if you were going to go and use that one's no longer good. So there should be a new meeting invite out there. And then we will have our regular school board meeting on Monday, June 8th, and that will also be virtual. If any of you are able to be on the parade route this Sunday with signs or tractors or whatever, it would be awesome to see everybody. Graduation will start at 2, and then the parade will be afterwards. So I don't know. I mean, is Wayne still on here? How long do you think the ceremony, getting everybody in and out of cars, is going to take?
I'm going to guess hour and a half to 2 hours.
Okay.
To get through the ceremony.
Okay. So parade will start about 4 o'clock then, or maybe a little bit before that. So, and if anybody wants me to text them when we start moving, I will. Just send me a text. So we'll get through this. But all right. Well, looks like we are all wrapped up for the evening. It's 7:33. Stay well, everybody, and we'll see hopefully a bunch of you Sunday at graduation. So signing off, Rebels. Have a good night.
Good night, everybody.